Hello. Hello guys, Willem Petzer here. It's very good to see all of you tuning in, already 100 people. It's a great sign to see all of you guys. So today we're going to talk about first the problem that we are sitting in, which I really am saddened to say, but it's quite a grave problem that we are in South Africa. Firstly, the economy is on free fall, and secondly, the ANC just announced that it will go ahead with expropriation without compensation, without any of the courts giving you any or having any decision over it, because they know that the courts can block them from expropriating someone's property without compensation if that person can justify to the courts that they have never ever stolen or received that land or their family, which will be in almost 100% of people's cases be the case that they can prove that, because most of them can prove how they bought the land or how their fathers bought the land, and so on and so forth. So guys, if you're looking for solutions, and I have done some extensive research on solutions that we can look at, tell your friends to come watch this and watch this yourself till the end. If you're looking at this video after it has been live already, be sure to share it with your friends and go ahead. And also, if you have friends who want to maybe watch now, let them know that we are live. Alright, so first things first, let us watch the video on that I'm talking about, where the ANC just admitted that they are coming after the land without the courts being able to intervene at all. Just find it. Alright, let's watch.
Just to you that you've not really done much there, Dr. Motshekga. All you've done is give the power to the courts to decide that in some instances they may decide that the compensation is zero.
No, because we are a multi-party democracy. We had to agree on a formulation which would be acceptable to the political parties, so that we don't derail the process. But that formulation is subject to engagement by political parties and the people of South Africa as a whole. And as I said, the African National Congress has...
This is becoming very interesting. We'll watch the whole interview until the end. Just for clarification, the formulation that he's talking about here was the original formulation that said that the courts can decide whether a person's property can be expropriated without compensation. And now he says no, that formulation was wrong. It was just to get a little bit of consensus between the political parties so we can go ahead with the process, and we as the ANC can then later introduce the new bill in which we say that only the executive, in other words the president and a few of his own chosen cronies, will have the full say over whose property gets expropriated and how much the compensation will be.
Should be given to the executive, and that's why we are calling on all other political parties and to all South Africans to make their input, so that when we sit as parliament, now we must be guided by the will, aspirations of the people of South Africa as a whole.
I see.
The earlier formula...
Yeah. Yes, go ahead. You are going to talk about the earlier formulation.
The earlier formulation was to ensure that we reach consensus.
This is very important. This is what I just said. The earlier formulation was to ensure that we reach consensus just for now, so that when we can go ahead with the whole thing, we can change it and we can make it so that the ANC will have totalitarian power over expropriation of property without compensation.
Otherwise, we would have created controversy and we would not have been able to get...
Otherwise, we would have created controversy if we actually went ahead with our original plan from the start. He's so open about it, he says it on live TV, it's actually ridiculous.
That the bill, and that would have derailed the process. And
that would have derailed the process.
So you are saying to me, Dr. Motshekga, the gazetted formulation of the bill is different from what you now want as the ANC. In the gazetted formulation, as I was showing in the slides now, the power to decide instances where the compensation will be zero rests in the hands of the courts. You as the ANC want it to rest in the hands of the executive.
That's what the ANC is saying. And we are saying that this is not an ANC process. Other political parties must make their inputs, and the people of South Africa as a whole must make their inputs, so that Parliament must be guided by the will of the people of
The
South
will of
Africa
the people.
as a whole.
In other words, what he's saying, the will of the people equals the people who voted for the ANC, who is a majority government, so nobody else will have a say, just the people who voted ANC will get their say through the ANC, and this is their proposal. That's what he means by the will of the people.
Not by one or the other political party.
Isn't it sneaky, though, Dr. Motshekga? Isn't it sneaky
that
you give us one bill that is the basis for people making written submissions, and then, you know, as they would say in South African parlance, jiggy jiggy, you are suddenly talking about it's not going to rest in the hands of the courts, it will rest in the hands of the executive.
You know, we have the experience.
Listen here, this is very important. Listen to what the experience of the ANC is on this matter.
That the court processes are arduous, they take time, they require resources, but the executive is a democratic government elected by the people of South Africa. They represent the people.
In other words, what he's saying is that the ANC don't want to fight this process in the courts, because they just want to have the full power, so that they can just have a pack of 100 or 1,000 forms on the desk of the president, and the president can just sign all of them in an hour, and the moment the president signs that form, your property belongs to the state. It doesn't belong to you anymore, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. That's the proposal that they're going for here.
People of South Africa, and they must govern, but we are not excluding the role of the courts, but we are not giving the courts the first opportunity to decide, because that will last another 25 years. And the people of...
Exactly. Now listen here, he says they don't want to give the courts the first opportunity. The ANC will have the first opportunity to decide, otherwise it will take another how many years, however it takes, to confirm. So what he wants to do is the ANC wants to confirm this, and if you have a problem with it, then you can go to the courts, and then it can take another 25 or whatever years to stop the ANC from doing it. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's absolutely astonishing how arrogant these people are, going on live TV and telling you their plans just like that, as if they have no care in the world whether anyone knows. Because I think this was their plans from the very start. This was the EFF's proposal from the very start. So it really looks like they just used the EFF to push the policy that the ANC wanted to be pushed themselves, and at the last minute they just switched to the EFF policy.
South Africa cannot wait for another 25 years to get a resolution to this matter.
It's a difficult formulation, Dr. Motshekga, for me to wrap my head around. Who would keep the executive in check in terms of, you know, making sure that, you know, because, you know...
Let's listen to his answer here. This should be golden.
Now putting it in the
Who
hands
will keep them in
the
check.
Political powers of the day to decide instances where there would be no compensation for land expropriated. Who would keep their power in check?
They are a democratically elected government.
Oh my goodness.
The powers of the courts to hear aggrieved parties is an entrenched power in the Constitution. So any aggrieved person reserves the right to go to the court and say, I have been prejudiced by the decision of the executive. Then the courts will intervene.
Sorry about that.
There is a balance there, so no one needs to fear if eventually Parliament agrees with the recommendation that the executive must, the power to expropriate should vest in the executive.
All right, Dr. Matwele Motshekga.
All right, guys, I think we've heard enough from this guy. So, even if you don't own any property, even if you don't own any property for the state to expropriate, this will hurt you so badly because everyone has something. And the moment that they start with this, that is the moment when we are on the same path as Zimbabwe, Venezuela, and every other hard communist or socialist country out there. And you might have, let's say you don't have a house, but you have 10,000 or 20,000 rands in the bank. And when this happens and the hyperinflation strikes because of this absolutely terrible economic policies of the ANC, that 10 or 20,000 rands in the bank that might have been able to feed you as an individual if you really cut the costs a lot for a year will now be able to not feed you for a single day. And that is the problem that we are sitting with. And I've been expecting that the economy will be in free fall and things will get a lot worse very soon. I never expected how bad it would be, that it would be this bad. But I did expect this, and I did a lot of research on how we can create a sort of a buffer to help ourselves against all of this. And what I've come up with is the only way that we can actually fight this system is if we first secure our own assets. And the only way we can first secure our own assets, even if it's just the 20,000 rand, the 50,000 rand, maybe the 100,000 rands that you got in the bank, or your pension fund, or your assets like your portfolio, your investments, and so forth. The only way to secure this is if we can take it out of the jurisdiction of the South African Revenue Service and out of South Africa. Now, you might know this process because a lot of very, very rich people do it. They move their assets to so-called tax havens and register them there. Countries like Monaco and Liechtenstein and so on and so forth. But this is not something that the ordinary person can do, because if you want to go to Monaco, for example, you will have to fork out a few million US dollars in investments before you can even start to move your assets there. But there is a way for us South Africans to actually do something similar, maybe not as good, maybe not as positive or as good for your investment as the ultra wealthy can do with their tax havens, but a similar way. And that's why I negotiated with this company, Swiss Africa, to send to be able to send people's money overseas or not overseas, to Botswana. And this is also why I negotiated that we are able to get 10% off for anyone who uses my name as a reference when they contact them at info@botswanaconnect.com. This is Swiss Africa, and this is the Swiss Africa group. They do Mauritius and other countries as well, but the focus here is on Botswana. And well, I'll get to your questions later, but I'm just going to quickly give you a simple few points why I focus on Botswana and why I really did a lot of research and got all these things into place for us as individuals and for us as a collective to save our money and to put a sort of a buffer in there. Because the only way how we fight this while we are in the country is if we have actually a few bucks in the bank to buy our food while we do it. So why Botswana? The first obvious one is because it's outside of South Africa. Now, I know a lot of banks, like Standard Bank, for example, offer you the option to put your money in the Isle of Man in pounds, and if you are at Investec, if you're really rich, very rich to be able to bank at Investec, you can move your money to England, also in pounds. If you're at FNB, you can get an account in dollars and so on and so forth. But the thing is, the fact is here, that money is still technically in South Africa. It's still technically in a South African bank. It still technically didn't leave the country at all. SARS have still, and the government still have full power over that money. And that's the big problem that we are sitting with here, because the expropriation bill is not just limited to land. I'm going to be straight with you here. It has never been about farmland. We all focus on farmland because that was what Zimbabwe's focus was, because it was this populist rhetoric. But if you look at what AfriForum has said, they actually said that that they have proof that this is just for China, so China can get the minerals in South Africa. So they can expropriate strategically the parts of land that have this mineral, so they can give it to China, so they can pay off the huge debt that our government has. That's what AfriForum is saying. And I'll find that article for you now. We'll go look at it now. Let me quickly find it for you, that we can go look at it. But that's the point. So, and this is not limited to just your land or your house or whatever. This can be your car, this can be the money in your bank account. This is really technically not limited. And it can also be intellectual property. Even if you have a patent on something that you are using, this can also be expropriated. The government can sign one form, and the next day you'll see it is not yours anymore. And let me just find that article by AfriForum, and then I'm going to quickly put that on the screen for you guys. Alright, here we go. Let's see if it works. Alright, AfriForum on land expropriation. This was 2018, September the 4th, 2018. A long time ago. China gets the mineral resources, we have the proof. It seems that there are some truth to AfriForum's expropriation list at all. We know this because we then later found out that the first farm on the expropriation list was being targeted in that year for expropriation, and it was also a farm, it was a game farm that was on a lot of unused minerals, and the farmers that owned the farm didn't want to use it for the minerals, they wanted to use it for the game that they were farming, and the government tried to expropriate this. So this is what we are dealing with here. You can't just leave your money in the country, but you invest it overseas, but it's still at a South African investment corporation, because that is how you fast track it to getting taken. So let's look at this. The other reason why I got here is because it's a very, very stable country. It is the most stable country in Africa. Look at this. This is the Transparency International group. It's a group that actually monitors governments for corruption and stability and so forth. And the more yellow you get here, the more stable and less corrupt a government is, and the more red it is, the less stable it is. So if you look at Africa specifically and you click on Botswana, it's the only country that is this orange color that got a score of 61 out of 100. That is a similar score to places like Spain with 62, and I think Portugal also 62. The United States of America sits at about a 69, and if you look at countries like Scandinavia, I think Norway is number 7 at 84, Sweden number 4 at 85, Finland is number 3 at 86, and so on and so forth. So this is one thing about Botswana, and the latest report from Transparency International said still gave Botswana the score, so they are still very transparent, still very stable. I know there's been rumors of people who try to be corrupt and take over the government there, the previous president who tried to hold on to power, but the fact that the police sorted that story out in the course of months and he was prevented to, are one of the reasons why Botswana is such a stable country. And the other thing is it's very close to South Africa. So if you have a car, if you want to buy a car there, which by the way is much cheaper than South Africa, you can still do it if you open a company there, and you can drive it around in South Africa, and it's very easy to just go every year to renew your license. The bank account can be in a very stable currency. It can be in US dollar, it can be in euro, pound, it can be in Japanese yen, and so on. And it's also very cheap to open your bank account there or to register a company there. It will cost you about $700 US, minus the 10% for reference if you use Willem Petzer at this company. So this is really why I'm using this company and give it to you as an option, because I did all this research and I really, really want to help my own people to secure their assets and get their money out of this country and be able to live better in this way. So here are some of the information that you might have if you want to call them. In office hours in Pretoria, it's 012-811-0609, or you can email them right now at info@botswanaconnect.com. And I trust these people. It's my kind of people. I know them personally, and this is why I recommend them to you. So let's get on with it. So there are 500 people watching. Wow, what a thing. Alright, so guys, what I want to do now is I want to actually take questions from the chat. So that is what I'm here to do now. So that I'll listen to that, so on. And I'll wait for questions to come in. While I wait for questions to come in, let me quickly talk about what would be the next step after you as an individual secured your funds and you put them overseas and you made it so that that you and your family are secure. What are we as a people going to do here? And yeah, I see Marty Boonsire says it's very, very costly to get your money out of the country, around $700, which is about 10,000 rands or 9,500 rands. The thing about that is it is not that costly relatively to what you would pay to move your money to another so-called tax haven like Mauritius, for example, that a lot of South Africans do. Mauritius would be about 3 or 4 times that, and a real tax haven like that the guys like Donald Trump and the worldwide billionaires use would be a few million US dollar. So that is what I'm talking about when I say it's quite cheap. Just to clarify this. Rampoko said, "Why are the banks so quiet?" This has been the thing about corporate South Africa for the last 30 odd years. Is whenever there is I see Wilhelm says $700 is a good deal. Isle of Man is about 6,000. That's correct. But in any case, whenever there is a problem in this country where we have a disastrous economic policy that are being proposed by the ANC, the corporate South Africa, the banks and the big corporations edge, just go to the ANC and they try to convince the ANC to not go on with it, and then at the end of the day they end up with something not as radical as the ANC was planning or as the ANC wanted, but still something very radical, and it's still horrible for the economy. So that's the thing. Let's see what else we have here. Won't this amendment have to be ratified by the Constitutional Court? That's the thing. If the ANC get their say, the ANC will to totally, they will bypass the courts with this. In other words, the courts won't have any say. The courts will come in afterwards, and the courts can fight. People can fight in the courts after it has already been passed, and then it will take another 20 years to fight it. So that's what the ANC want. They want to bypass the court so that they don't have to fight it in the Constitutional Court. That's the point. People say I have know nothing about finances. Okay, how do they know that? And how can you give us advice on this? I'm just asking. The thing about this is, I think you need to do your own research. I did my own research, and I don't know nothing about finances. I know quite a bit because I did quite a bit of research on it. But do your own research. I told you, I didn't tell you what to do. I told you what I have done and what I personally recommend. But you do your own research. Go check out these things. Go check out the tax rate and so on of Botswana, and go check out if you want to go ahead with it, and contact the people yourself and see for yourself whether you think this is a good thing or not. That's something that I forgot. I forgot to mention on this thing here that Botswana's business tax rate for you, if you open a business there, is 15%. So it's much lower than in South Africa. So that's just something else worth mentioning about this. But as I say, do your own research. Don't believe me, and you can contact these guys. I can wait. Let me just find it. I can show you their contact information here and talk it out with them. Ask them what they can do. Ask them about it. And then you go ahead, you do your own research, and you ask yourself, is this a good idea? Did Willem tell me a bunch of lies? Does it look like Willem told me the truth? Does it look like Willem gave me good advice? Do your own research. That's what I'm asking you to do. And then decide for yourself. Because after the extensive research that I've done, I found this to be by far the best idea for anyone who is middle income in this country. Thank you. She said that, or he or she said that they believe me. They believe in my research. What about SARS? That's the thing. Okay, so how it works between South Africa and Botswana is there's no forex control on the Botswana side. And from the South Africa side, you can move about R1 million per year out of the country. So this is quite a lot. This is actually about the cutoff point for people who want to move money out of this country into Botswana. Because if you have more than R1 million to move to another country, then you don't fall into the class that I'm talking about here. You don't fall into the class that just wants something to hold on to when everything falls down in South Africa. You fall into the class that can afford to go to much more exotic places. You fall in the, if you can quote the money song from ABBA, you fall in the maybe even in the Monaco crowd. But any case, so that's about that. Joan Badenor says, Joan says I should give the number again, but if you just later look at this video, you'll see, and there was a number earlier. Let's see what else we have here. What about the tied up millions, if not billions, that is lying in RA funds, which we cannot touch until maturity? Well, that's a bit of a problem there. It is a legal problem. You'll have to find out for yourself about that. But there's not much that you can do about it. Honestly, there's not. I really wish I could help you, especially if you are in the state pension fund, and we know that the ANC is after the pension funds. They said it. They said it themselves. They wanted to use the pension funds money, and this is quite a big problem. I'll maybe do a dedicated video or a few videos on that. All right. Just make sure you disclose it all the time. You're not a financial advisor. Yeah, that's the thing. I should disclose that. So that's why I'm saying do your own research. This is my research, and this is what I have done. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you what I have done and what I have found to be the best possible option for people in my own income class. I mean, I'm just in my 20s, so I personally don't have much. I don't even own any property, but I know that when anyone else's property gets expropriated, everything that I have gets devalued to the point that it's worth nothing anymore. Can't we get guys like AfriForum to get into shows like the Tucker Carlson report? Well, Aaron Zeus has already been on to Tucker Carlson, but this was before things escalated into what they are currently like now. Alright. Any bank loan bonded means the new owner has to honor it. That's a problem here. When we asked the ANC, or when the ANC was asked, what about the bonds? What about if someone's property gets expropriated, but that person still owns whatever, R1 million or whatever on that property? Does the person still have to pay it? And the ANC just flat out said yes. So if you still own money on your house and your house gets expropriated, the ANC flat out said yes, you still have to honor your bonds on that house. It's really difficult for me because there are literally 500 plus people in this chat, so messages come in very, very fast. So if I skip your message, don't think that I don't want to talk to you. But the thing is, if you want me to see your message, there is an option, but you have to pay for it. Just under that part that says say something in the chat, there's a $sign, and then you can there do a super chat. And your message will be highlighted for me, and I'll definitely read it because it will be highlighted, it will be big, and it will stay on the screen. So that's an option for you if you really have something on your heart and you want to ask it. You can use that option. If the ANC expropriated in this manner, it will mean war, as nobody will give up their property without a fight. Well, Nicholas, I've got to ask you this: what did it mean war in Zimbabwe? Did it mean war in Venezuela? Did it mean war in the Soviet Union, or did the government just steamroller the people and took all of their things? You see, it's very, very, very easy in a country like South Africa. It's very easy in a country like South Africa to expropriate people's property. And why I'm saying that is because there is such a big mass of underclass or working class people that don't own any property, that they are the ones cheering it on. So when you expropriate property from the very small middle class or the very small upper class, the masses of people won't feel it because their property is not in risk because they don't own any property. But this is the problem. Then things get a lot worse in the country. The economy goes into free fall, and people are in a lot of trouble. And then the government just keep on blaming the upper classes or the middle classes, just like they did in the Soviet Republic, the Soviet Socialist Republic, USSR, just like they did in Zimbabwe. And I'm sorry to say this, but usually the people are that stupid that they don't care, or they just believe the government blindly and they still blame the upper classes. And the thing in South Africa is that we don't just have communism here, we have racial communism here. So we don't have a working class versus a bourgeoisie or middle class or upper class. We have it as black against white here, and that is exactly the game that the ANC and the EFF is playing. They played black people are the poor and disenfranchised, and they are poor because white people stole all of their things. So it's much stronger. I'm going to quote Dr. Jordan Peterson here when he said that the most or the strongest possible group coordination is group coordination on the basis of genetic similarity. So that group being the working class is much better to mobilize and cooperate against a common enemy when you do it on the basis of genetic similarity, which is we are all the black race, because people are inherently drawn to people that look like them and act like them and are like them in general. So this is why this is so much stronger and so much more of a problem in South Africa, because it's a much better or a much bigger message to say, make it a black against a white thing like the ANC and the EFF is doing, than it could have been in the Soviet Republic or in China, where it was just classes against each other. It's really stronger here. That's a big problem. Wow, guys, there are so many messages here. I have no idea which ones to take. Why do they give the Chinese free ground and even their own police stations? I'm not entirely sure about the free ground and what's going on exactly between our government and China. I know a lot of Chinese people have been given land here, and there's not technically police stations, it's more of private security, but that's a problem. We don't know. Olenka Wagner gave a PLN, 10 PLN. I don't know what PLN is. Is that the Polish currency? But in any case, she gave the super chat and she asked, is there a chance to stop the expropriation bill? And the answer to that is a simple yes. Of course there's a chance. There's always a chance. People will fight against it. But in the end, the people who fight against it are in a much weaker position than the people who fight for it, because the people who fight for it are literally the party who is in a majority government. They don't even need a coalition party because they already have the majority. And if they just go to the EFF, they will have a 2/3 majority, and they'll be able to push anything through any amendment to the constitution through. And this is the big problem that we are sitting with here. Will AfriForum help people get out of South Africa, or are they simply in it to get money from us? I don't know. I've never heard about AfriForum saying whether they want to help people getting out of the country. I don't think so. Personally, I don't want to leave the country, because I believe still this is our country, and it's the country of our forefathers, and I don't want to leave it. But no, I don't think AfriForum has any plan of helping people leave the country. Okay, let's see if we can find something else here. I'm so sorry if I don't get to your questions, guys. There are almost 600 people busy live watching right now. And I just can't get to. It's just the it's just a lot of messages running over my screen at a rapid pace. I can't see everything here. How many times a week do I shave? Probably like every day. I shaved this morning. Why? Yeah, thanks for lightening the tension of the stream, because it's quite a tense stream thus far. Also, Pieter Jansen van Rensburg, Pieter Jansen van Vieren says a very true thing, which is significant. Not everyone has the ability to leave, and that's very, very true. Most people can't leave because the only way that you can leave, if you're either very young and you have a professional skill, or you are a bit older, you are in your 50s or 40s. But if you're in your 50s or 40s, you need to be highly qualified, like a medical specialist, or a highly qualified engineer or something like that. Everyone else is basically stuck, especially if you want to leave, going to a first world country. That's the problem that we're sitting with here. You need to be young with a good qualification, or you need to be a bit older with a few years of work in you left, with a great qualification. Or the third option is just that you are exceptionally rich, and you can just get move because you invest enough in the country that you want to move to. But I think the people who are that rich already have residency in the country of their choice. So the rest of us are basically stuck here. Let's see what else we have here. Guys, it doesn't look, if I look through the chat and I scan through it quickly, if there's anyone that have any questions that are on topic. I want to get the stream as done as quick as possible, so that we can get as much as possible people watching the stream after it has been finished. So then I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes, and then we're going to finish, or 3 more minutes, so that we are exactly 40 minutes. If you really want to ask something or say something, and it's really vital for you that it is being said on this channel or being asked on this channel, then be sure to give a super chat there. Click on the $ below, say something. I'm not saying this because I want the money that you pay for the super chat. It's just that it's the only way that I'm going to definitely see your question or your whatever you want to say. I see a lot of people are saying they would burn their houses. What do you say? I think that is very stupid, because I don't think that everyone's houses will get expropriated. I think that the government will target specific, very high value properties, which will be of much significance for them, and they'll expropriate these, and it will make the economy go into shambles. And if you burn your house down, then you basically live in an economy that is in shambles, and you don't have a house to live in. Whereas the other option would be that you live in an economy that's horrible, but you still have a roof over your head. So that's the thing. Alright guys, it looks like there's not really much left here in the chat. Not much people, nobody will add a vital question or something vital to say, so I think I'm going to end off the stream here. So be sure to share this with your friends. Be sure to click on that like button so it gets a lot more traction for the algorithm. If you enjoyed the stream and you think the information that I gave you here are of importance, and God bless you all, and I'll stay with you, and I'll be doing analysis, and I'll talk to you, and I'll do my research, and I'll try to help everyone as best as I can. Thank you all for supporting me. You have a great night, and God bless every single one of you.